I was 7 years old when I saw grown men crying in the streets. It was not because of war or natural disaster, but because they lost everything they had overnight. All their savings, their hopes, they were gone. It was 1997 in Albania, and the whole economy collapsed under pyramid schemes. They were false promises disguised as opportunities, and people believed in them, invested in them. They sold their homes, their lands. They chased these promises that then turned out to be a lie. I still remember holding my mother's hands in front of a closed bank, surrounded by fear and betrayal. And that day, I learned something that I didn't have the words for at the time. When the institutions fail, they don't leave behind only financial loss, but they leave behind a long-lasting distrust in the institutions. I grew up in the vacuum left by the toughest communist regime in the world. We went from communism to democracy overnight. We were supposed to be free, and we technically were free. We finally could vote, we could express freely our views, and we could finally also travel. But we didn't have functioning institutions. There was no public trust. Financial systems were seen not as a path to progress, but something that people feared them. They didn't trust the banks, they didn't trust the state. They kept the money under their mattresses. And staying informal was the only way to survive, not because of choice, but because they didn't have a better option. So when I was 18, I decided to leave my country and go study abroad economics. Not because I wanted to escape my past, but because I wanted to understand it. I wanted to have answers to the question that shaped my childhood. How we can really build systems that serve and do not harm the people that they claim to protect. So this mission brought me across the Mediterranean in countries that were facing their own versions of what I lived when I was a child. Some were stuck in transition, some were rebuilding after conflict. But I saw the same truth everywhere. People full of potential were left out, were knocked out of the opportunities. And not because they were not able, but because the system didn't recognize them. So I met businesswomen that were refused a loan because they were not registered, because they couldn't present a collateral. I met farmers whose work really wasn't valued because it was not possible to be measured in a spreadsheet, and so they were refused to participate in the formal financing. And the truth is that people stay informal not because they want to, but because the system doesn't see them. So my work has been trying to change that. I have worked with entrepreneurs, with banks, with public authorities to make finance more accessible, more just, and more human. Back in Albania, the buildings that once housed the pyramid schemes, most of them now are turned into cafes, into gyms, into co-working spaces. And to me, it's symbolic. We turn the ruins of betrayal into places that life happens again. And that's what financial inclusion does. It's not about only having access to credit. It's about restoring dignity. It's about building trust. It's about making people that feel that they belong. Because when people actually are able to plan for their future, to build, to invest, then they believe not only in economy, but in society. And so when they are seen and supported, they reclaim voice, agency, and dignity. Thank you.